the doctor's surgery. Welcome to the doctor's surgery. What is the doctor's surgery about if you're a first time listener? Um, the doctor's surgery is about Britain's first black current affairs show. And it's not just simply about being Britain's first black current affairs show, it's about bringing you the information that's been highlighted and percolated in the British media and the British press over the past week, whether it's or even the international press over the past week. So things that are of concern to us as a people, nationally and internationally, that have been addressed over the past week, and not so much so everything, but the things that are pertinent that needs to be redressed. Because a lot of times the national and the international media, they don't address the matters appropriately as it truly pertains to the community. So the doctor's surgery is about readdressing these issues, ensuring that the nuances and the underlying ethos of that information is met and dealt with properly. And that's one of the things that we always want to do, that we make sure that the information that we're given is not just a regurgitation of what the press has highlighted, but more so of highlighting the nuances that have been key to the concern within that subject matter. And if you're listening, I mean, welcome to the show. If you're a first time listener, it's a show about dialogue. We'd love to hear your point of view on the matter, because we all have a point of view on these issues. We all have a take on it. And it's good that we can have this dialogue about the matters so that we can generate a common mindset, you know, as the old saying goes, the old moniker, each one teach one. We teach each other to have a greater and a broader outlook, and a greater and a broader understanding, for lack of a better word, of how we look at things and how we learn about the nuances presented within each. On this week's show, what are we going to be discussing? Well, so far over the past week, there was a report that came out on institutional racism, the matter, I think, pertaining to the closure of the Stephen Lawrence case by the Met Police. We're going to touch on that briefly. The big one that's caused rapid protest and students getting into disarray, schools and grades, and I think in the greater part, a lot of that's been flogged. But I think there's slightly a few areas on that we can touch on, just to kind of highlight the discrepancy, which is clearly obvious that's going on. Um, I know the producer wanted to highlight the fact of a few pointers that she wants to highlight. So I'm going to hand over to her in a second. Um, do you still want to go through this?
Can do that.
And so the producer wanted to highlight a couple points. One being, in America, there's a trend going on in general society, and within general society, we have to look at these trends and how they impact on us as a people. We know that there was a lady in the park in America that had called the police on a black man, and the reasoning why she called the police on the black man, and what she was attempting to create. And the producer wants to kind of highlight the comparisons about what happens when different groups uses their power and their influence in an abusive way. So whether it's the the the, a white woman calling to say that she's been attacked, or she's been raped or anything by a black man, the responses, the disproportionate responses to that. And I think this comparison is due to the attack on the young black lady last week up there in Boreham Wood, where the police treated a report by the Jewish clerks uh, as an anti-Semitic response, and the way that it was treated by the police. Are there comparisons between, as Americans would call them, Karens, and an anti-Semitic remark being reported? Not that we're promoting anti-Semitism, it's just looking at the comparisons between how it's treated towards us as a people. Is it disproportionate and is it unfair? Because we have to look at these nuances. If we don't, who's going to? No one else is going to look at these nuances for us and highlight the discrepancies. And that is akin to the MP. What's her name? The MP last week. Her name's just slipped me. The MP last week that had reported, that we spoke about last week, that had reported the prior week that she had been stopped by the police, and she put out the video. And the police's response now saying that they couldn't have known what she looked like because the car was all tinted. But that's not quite true, because Don Butler, that's it. That's not quite true, But so we're going to look on all those things, on unpick in a tentative and well respectful way. But these things, they have to be highlighted. Um, Another big one that's been in the news, I know the producer wants to take the lead on this one, is Kamala Harris. And is she a pawn, or is she representative of success? You know, is this another link towards colorism, in the case that people can say, well, is she black, African American, or is she mixed? Uh, a continuation of a topic area of how these influences are impacting on us as a people, how these influences are causing somewhat of a misnomer and a misrepresentation of us within the media and the public eye. And it's not so much the men, it's not so much the black men that are significantly impacted by this. And this is why the producer is taking the lead, because it's difficult for myself to fully grasp the full comprehensive nature of it. And it's important that we get that information from the people that are directly and more so affected by this. And the reason I say that is because when we look at mixed heritage men, mixed heritage men, they lean towards the black side automatically, as we've covered in the past. So it's because black men tend to have that level of confidence, and that where the rights for equality and struggle over the years, as the producer put it to me a few weeks ago, was the black woman standing by his side, whereas now it's for her turn to actually say, it's my time to have that equality. And so we have to stand by her whilst we also go through another revolution. So it's not just that it's Black Lives Matter and we're not taking no more, but it's also the time of this revolution where the black woman should be stepping forward. The dark skinned black woman, as the producer would say, the 4C here black woman should have her own space. So I won't be dealing with that matter per se. I'll be adding my take to it. But so that's something that we want to look at, and that's going to be linked in with the old issue around the Senator Kamala Harris. Um, and also, last but not least, something close to me as a Formula One fan, I see one of the things that I want to kind of highlight is the disproportionate and the nuance, the racially based lack of support within the British media and the British press for Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One driver, because when you listen to the reports for him on the races, pre-race, they always are irking for him to lose. Never before, when you see the cricket on the TV, it's always a enthusiastic reach for the cricketers to win. When you hear about the rugby players it's always an enthusiastic reach for the rugby players to win, the football players and so forth. But when it boils down to Lewis Hamilton, it's always enthusiastic push and reach for someone else to beat him. It's never to say a great British champion. It's always, oh, Lewis Hamilton. It's all so. Again, that's something that we're going to look at, and more importantly, the final issue, because there was so much happening in the past week with the impact of the exam results on that's come out now, and you see that the a government that came in on a strong footing to build on the British economy have been thrown into disarray because of the COVID 19 pandemic or pandemic, or whichever way that you want to put it. Now, the government is in disarray because of the COVID 19 situation. Now, how confident, after how they've dealt with the exam situation, are you with your children returning to school and the worry about your parental rights when your children return to school? Because I was made privy to an article, a publication from Public Health England, that were saying things in the sense that, anyone, and this is something that's been highlighted before, but anyone that's tested positive for COVID, the laws and the regulations that came in, they can be isolated. So there needs to be clarity in what rights parents will have when they send their children back to school. Should there be a COVID 19 outbreak in school? Will they be testing your kids? Will they be trying to separate the children from their households because they claim they don't want the spread of the COVID to go into the household? So will they be trying to force separate parents and their children? So can your child be taken out of school and placed into protective custody and care because they deemed to have been tested positive without your consent inside schools whilst they return? So what are the situations there? So that's something that those are all the different subject areas that we're going to run through today. If you want to take part in the show, feel free to give us a call or a text message. Let us know that you're listening. The number is 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. It'll be good to know that you're listening. This is Omega FM 104.1. If you're listening on the airwaves, omegafmradio.co.uk. For those listening via the TuneIn app, listening online, mixcloud.com/Omega DJ. And I know that Omega's also got the Omega London TV Presents YouTube channel. You can watch us live on YouTube, or you can subscribe to us on YouTube, where there will be more content in the future. Not just the show, there will be greater content in the future. So subscribe to us, The Doctor's Surgery on YouTube. So you go into the search, you search The Doctor's Surgery, you go into the filter section, and you filter and reduce your search content on the channels by hitting the channels icon, the channels button, and you will see us right there at the top, The Doctor's Surgery um, YouTube channel, where you can watch live and take in this show in all its glory. How are you guys this morning? Remember, it's a show of dialogue, a show of participation. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know that you're listening. 0753-996-8143. Give us a text or a call. Let us know you're out there. Um, so where should we start? As I said, we'll jump into it. On the reports on the reports by the police that they are closing down the Stephen Lawrence investigation. Now, after so many years, so many years, what, Stephen Lawrence was murdered in 1993. After so many years of knowing we have a live caller? Oh, let's do this. Call you live. Good morning. How you doing? Where you calling from?
Hi, good morning, Dr. Surgery. This is Ade.
Hi, Ade. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man. You've got a lot of subject for today.
Mhm.
When you going to start?
We can jump into anyone a day. I don't mind. We can talk about anyone that you.
The most urgent one, because it's the most current one as well, is dealing with the exam results.
Yeah.
Okay. It is very, very strange what is going on, and I have a sneaky suspicion that it's kind of like a template for what is going to be happening more and more in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first thing is this: how can you have computer algorithms that predict this? Because to me, it plays into a certain kind of society that they're trying to create
Yeah.
for the future. I know in Japan, for example, Japan now, you have insurance companies that are automated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to make a claim and stuff like that, not even a human being that you talk to, it's a computer that will decide whether or not you can actually claim on your insurance
Mm-hmm.
based on different things that that information that you enter into it. So I think it might have been some kind of a test to see what the response of the population was going to be. And obviously, if people have accepted it, then that would have been the template for the future.
I mean, let's look at it like this. Let's assume everything that they're saying is correct. Let's say that there is the pandemic is real. It's not a pandemic. Let's say it's a pandemic and it's real. Let's say this pandemic is caused, which it appears to have major upheaval on British life and world society. The world has changed, whether people want to accept it or not. There's been major changes across the globe because of COVID-19. Now, let's say all these things have taken place and we are in a position of recovery or potential recovery, and we have to do things in a stepwise manner. This disruption had caused schools to be closed and the education system to be disrupted. For those that were in the middle of all of this, how do we remedy this situation for them and moving forward? Now, when they presented, the problem is when they presented these options to say this is how they were looking to remedy the situation, they knew it wouldn't work because the Scottish results came out a week before the English results, and they saw the ramifications of that. So they were already privy to say this approach wouldn't work, and that's why Scotland went and changed the system straight away.
But check this, yeah, they were privy to it at that time. They were also privy to it a lot longer before that time. Because I know people that work in the medication sector,
Mm-hmm.
and then some months ago, they already said to them, okay, when it comes to exams and the grades and stuff, this is what we're proposing. So they already have some kind of a feedback from teachers months ago.
Yes, and
Because, someone said, no, this is not a feasible thing. We don't think this is a practical way to do things.
this is the catch-22. Had they announced in the first outset that they were looking to use teacher grades, for example, I've heard firsthand from people within the teaching profession that had they known that there was going to be a marking down of their students, they would have marked their students up. So you can see that there's that feeling that no matter what you say, if you give that instruction in all its glory and clarity in how it's going to be done and set it in stone, then there will still be some disproportionality that's taking place because schools get recognized based on the amount of students that pass their exams, and if teachers are setting the grades for the students to pass, then the schools are going to get greater recognition. So they have to also balance that as well. Now, the issue at hand is less if we buy what they say each step of the way, we have to look at the systematic errors within what they're saying themselves before we can even step away from that. So the systematic errors for me is one, they knew what was coming because they saw it a week in hand with Scotland. Now, they also, when it took place, they also had it on the desk the evening of last Thursday that this marking down has already biased the BAME groups, Black and Asian minority ethnics, as they call us, and also white kids from working class backgrounds. So the poorer class of society, because the algorithm was designed. And when they say it's an algorithm, it was designed by someone. So someone placed the parameters in there. You know what I mean? I've designed these kind of these analytic tools myself. So you put the parameters in. And so when they're trying to say it's an algorithm, yeah, but you guys designed it. Or if it's the, how they call them, Ofqual or whatever the organization's called, whoever designed it to be biased. And it's designed to be biased based on historical trends. So what they're saying is that normally historically the schools that were marked down historically in those settings in a natural way, though they never actually attain all the grades that they portray that they're going to attain, there's always a deflation.
It's a whole point of an exam, for you to be able to assess whether or not an individual is capable at a certain level academically. Isn't that the whole point? If you're trying to, as you said, the algorithm, somebody has got to program in the parameters there.
Mhm.
I would love to be able to see more statistics as to what were the criteria that they use for those parameters, and then the result based upon ethnic minority, gender, and also location, geographic location of the student.
They told us what those are. They said that basically, if you go back into the historical, like let's say the past 10 years, there's a 74% error rate in teacher markings. 74% error rate and a 16% correct rate. So they were able to adjust that value. And what they did, they marked down 40%, so they didn't go the full 75%. So the error rate that they've presented is based on previous years and the outcome from previous years. So when teachers say, "Oh, my student's going to get AAA," for example, over previous years from those institutions, generally, statistically, on an average across the board, there's a 40% chance that that doesn't take place. They might get B, C, D, or something of the sort. So some students don't fare as well in the main exams as they do running up to the exams, or they feel that the teachers are biased in terms of favorability to certain students. And that's the major things, the thing that I wanted to discuss, because the British media and the British press, they've covered the matter very comprehensively in a sense, but what they've not identified in the whole mix is when teachers are marking up students in those institutions and marking down others through dislike. And we know that there's a greater chances of BAME students being marked down in their predictive grades. This is a statistics they haven't put out there. And BAME students in the past have, in their predictive grades, tend to be marked down more than marked up. But they don't highlight these things because then it would have been in favorable. It would have been in favor that the algorithm should push some BAME students up. So a lot of things have taken place inside the so-called algorithms that's biased towards us already without even going into the next phase of things. So the algorithm was flawed fundamentally because it only looked at the majority and not looked at the finer points. And the finer points are that a lot of BAME students tend to perform at a better level in their exams in the lower institutions. They tend to mark down a lot of us, and we get better grades than they presented and predicted. And some of us, we get it spot on. But also, one of the things that we have to also look at is, what is it? Was it a tactical plan on the part of the government? When I say was it a tactical plan on the part of the government, did the government purposely allow this time period to take place so that the key students from these private and up and grammar schools and so forth get those key places initially, and then they rescind on the marking scheme, so that the BAME and other students that have been affected they have to fill the gap that the European students would get if there's a gap filler needed, because that's how it feels like. It feels like the process was changed to create a gap filling outcome. So where we would get a lot of students from Spain, France, and those European countries coming in to study here as foreign students, because there's going to be a shortfall because of the COVID-19 issue, then they rescinded it at this point. So these students now would be the gap fillers for that process. And that's what it sounds like is taking place, more so than opposed to anything else. So it sounds like a subtle plan to make it as if it was a case where, oh, we're incompetent and we're going to make the teacher grade stand and so forth. But a lot of students have missed out on their placements in Cambridge and all these upper echelon schools that they were trying to get into already from these this discrepancy groups.
Even with the reverse, you still going to get quite a few that would have slipped through the cracks as well.
Even if they reverse it, they can't go back to these institutions and tell them, give me back my place, because what's happening is that these institutions have already offered the places to other students. So, and they can't then go and take it back from those other students to give it. And remember, this is something that they don't essentially say. Most of these universities over offer places. You want to add something?
I'm just thinking, isn't a lot of the universities doing their course online now?
That's another thing that's probably going to happen as well. They're going to probably use the online process for a lot of these students, home study and give them that entitlement. But there's something that's been flagged up so much about this, that this is going to be the generation that employers are going to try to steer away from, because it's going to be so hard to distinguish who's really competent from who got through on a lucky one.
That's the major. This is what I'm saying to you from the beginning. It's a certain kind of a world for the future that they're trying to create.
Yeah.
And once you have a labor force, because if you think about it, is it just going to be this year, or is it going to happen next year and the year after? So you're going to have a labor force where some will be naturally going to have capability and be qualified, and then there'll be quite a lot who are not, because because of a system that has sort of pushed them through. Without them being actually being able to prove or show that they were actually qualified or capable of such in the first instance.
Yeah.
So, now you mentioned something else which is very, very, very important. That information that you said you were privy to. Now, what would you advise parents to do for the forthcoming academic year? Because there's some other information I myself have come across, and I very, very apprehensive. When it comes to, if you send children back to school in September, because some of these things that I've seen, what they're planning to do with the classrooms, etc., and stuff like that, I don't feel very comfortable with those things, especially for children to those kinds of environments. So what would you advise parents to do?
Oh, well, that's such a difficult one. And it needs like further discussion. I would love to probably have quite a few experts on this call helping me along with that one. But basically it's the conundrum for September, isn't it? What's going to happen? Are you going to send your children back to school knowing the incompetence, for lack of a better word, the straight incompetence that this government is showing due to the crisis? And the reason I say incompetence is because they're making major blunders as if they're continuously testing the British population. It's like, it feels like a continuous test of our patience. Right. So, all I can say to parents is that, you have to stand firm. You cannot allow anyone to take your child if you don't want them to take your child under these circumstances, and I think parents, be it whether you're black, white, Asian, or whatever ethnic grouping or nationality you belong to, you have to stand firm to make sure that you maintain your parental rights. And if one person is affected, we all stand together as parents, if that is the case. It shouldn't be the case that, oh, my child is safe. It should be, everyone as parents should have that right. And if it's the case where You know, who it's unbelievable some of the things that have been allowed on paper, but would it be allowed in practice? You know, and the only way that it won't be allowed in practice is if that everyone stands firm. And you know, this is where the the law officials, you know, those which they will try to use to enforce these things, they have to kind of stand down on these points to say, nah, they're not doing it. Hopefully, they themselves are parents and they will not agree with that in any part. But again, the people that suffer from these things in a very disproportionate way, like the exam results, are the working class whites and the BAME groups. And in all of that mix, it's usually us that are usually 4-1 when the others are like 2-1. You know, it's like, you know, in terms of the disproportionality, we talk about death rates and everything else. It's always the the black group that is worst affected. So, you know, we have to stand firm, and we have this is the time and day we have to keep our ear to the ground, keep our ear to the skies, and keep our ear in every direction and listen for everything that's taking place and make informed choices as parents. You
Okay,
know,
that's cool. But here's the thing now. What do you think of the idea of setting up alternative education for people? That they were schooling from home. For those parents who literally are so worried that they just don't want to send their children back to school in September.
it
Do
would
you
be
think that is a viable option for them?
it would be great if we could set up something like that, isn't it? For those who can, it would be great. I wouldn't discourage anything that protects your child and expands their horizon, because we know the education system fails young black kids, because young black kids are so advanced in the early phases of life that usually in a lot of them, usually if it was a different country, they would be several grades above their actual grade. And hence why the British said, no, if you're at this age, you have to be in this class, you cannot go above that grade, because you know black kids were excelling at a younger age. And as such, you know, they're forced to stay with their peers at a dumbed down rate for the duration of time during schooling. Now, so we know that homeschooling done properly statistically shows greater results. I'm not saying that everyone can homeschool. I'm saying some of us will still have to end up sending their children back to school. You
You
know,
know,
so
they always say that even the statistics also show that as well that at primary levels, primary school level, they excel. They always do very,
right.
very well. And something always happens at that secondary school level where some are still good at progress and still excel, but then we start that will fall into bad habits or gangs and things like that. So it
not
always
not
happens that
not
right.
not the case. There's some that are pushed in that direction. The problem is the problem is that if I mean, I'm probably an old man now, but if I reflect back into my day, you know, you had teachers, you had white teachers that were very encouraging to some black students, very encouraging, and then you had some black teachers, sorry, you had some white teachers that, so let me rephrase that again. You had some white teachers that were very encouraging to the students, whether they're black or whatever their racial orientation. And then you had some teachers, white teachers, that were very discouraging and biased towards some students. And these are the students that tend to fall off the rail because they don't have that level of warmth and connection that they once had in the, and a lot of them, they're bored in the classroom because the information is watered down, so they start to give trouble. I mean, I know that when I was in certain classes in high school, you know, the work was so easy, it became trivial for me to pay attention because it was just too easy. It felt like I was doing it all over again. You know what I mean? It just felt, what's this? So in those classes where the work wasn't challenging, I didn't really pay much attention because it was a walk in the park. And I was seen as disruptive in those classes. And this is why I say BAME students tend to be marked down in a lot of subjects, because in those subjects where I was marked down, I achieved A's in my exams. So it's because the work was just too easy, you know. So, you know, one of them I messed up. You know, I would say that one I messed up, but in the rest, it was just too easy. And these things, they're not recognized by all teachers. Not all teachers are in the profession because they're great teachers. Some teachers are in the profession just for a paycheck. And some teachers don't deserve to be there because they're prejudiced. You know, I've seen students fall out of music class because the teacher didn't, they were brilliant at doing their music, and then the teacher left and another teacher comes in, has a gripe with the student, and the student just completely falls apart at something that they were brilliant at. So we can't first look at the students and say why the students joining gangs and da 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 da. We have to look and say what's the environment these youngsters are in that's breeding that mentality for them to end up in that direction. And the environment, if when you look across the board, when you look into the high schools and stuff, they don't see representation of themselves at a time when representation of themselves is crucial and key. They don't see that. You know, when they're younger, they're a bit more still in the I'm a princess thinking and I'm a prince thinking, because you know race is not a issue. It's not so overt in your face because everything is still romanticized. But when it gets to that crucial age, that tentative age, when they start to see that there's a disproportionality, they start to be treated roughly. Because when they're young, in public, people ain't gonna rough up a little young child. But when they reach like adolescence, early adolescence, you know, people start being a bit rude in the shop, and they start to see that because of the complexion of their skin, there's a disproportionality in treatment towards them. And a lot of times when they flag it up, no one's there to listen. You know, so. Mhm. No, there's no news. So, but I understand what you mean. Carry on.
What do you make of the Harris situation?
The which one?
The Harris situation.
Harry.
Camilla.
Harris. Oh, Camilla Harris. All right. You know what? I'm going to hand over to because I was going to talk about it, but the producer said I want that subject. Right. I'm going to hand over to my. She's done a lot of research over the past week. So I don't want to step on her toes with it. So I'm going to hand over to her, just have a chat with her, and she'll tell you exactly what our discussed views. And whatever she says, you know, that's what I'm rolling with the punches with the Kamala situation.
Thank you. Okay, so basically, with Camilla Harris, I find that this is a prime example of when you associate what's the word I'm looking for? Oppression with blackness, because really and truly, that's the only sort of factor of which she can identify with black people in America. Because if we actually look at her background and if we actually look at her as a person, she had an Indian mother and a black father. To the age of 7, the father was present in the house, and then after 7, that's when custody battles took place, where he didn't get awarded custody of the children, and she spent most of her time with her Indian mother. She's, as I said, she's from immigrant parents, so therefore she's not really considered African American because she's not descendants of slavery who embedded themselves in the culture. She's come from a line where, yes, there was slavery present, but she's not an American slave. So therefore, she can't really talk on American issues because she hasn't necessarily gone through the oppression that American people, American black people have gone through.
So do you think, I mean, look, at the end of the day, politics is politics, isn't it?
Yes.
They do what they do because they're trying to get people to give them their support and their votes and stuff like that. So, not for me, right? I can observe her, okay? I think she is there to appeal to a broader section of the population.
Correct.
Not on merit. She's not their merit. But here's what I always say when it comes to those kind of political situations. The Democratic Party has not delivered for America. Neither has the Republican Party. And anybody or anything within those systems that is trying, that is proposing that they are the answer or the solution, you know, if anything going to change for the general population, you know, should they get in? The answer is probably no.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a lot of showboating. She's been, you know, strategically selected so she can appeal to black people because she kind of looks, you know. So
She's and her father.
She can appeal to white people because she's not too dark.
No, she appeals to white people because she's married a white partner. So she's not what's the word that I want to look for? I don't know. I don't want to say anything offensive.
I would say that
Most people would see that as well. It's kind of like a strategic selection, basically. It's just like Obama. Obama, you know, physically, you know, the way you appeal to a lot more wider section of the population, but he wasn't overly one particular way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my take on it anyway. Honestly, I don't think anything is going to change. And I've been hearing several reports about Biden as well that he's not the most queued up person, and this whole pandemic has been a good, sort of reason whereby the people have already seen the real him as far as, like, you know, it's not been on debate and stuff like that. So the party will elect him uncontested.
Mm-hmm.
My take for that.
Yes, caller. So you see, and just to kind of expound on the points, you know, just for clarity, you know, when we say I remember when the term African American was being coined, because it wasn't always the case that they were called African Americans. One of the major issues and concerns at the time was, you know, that they used to highlight was that affirmative action was when they introduced affirmative action in the 80s. They realized that there were white people from South Africa that were coming to America and getting in on these affirmative action programs in California, saying that they're African Americans because they were from Africa and now they're in America as Americans, so they're African Americans. So it's kind of like that, where I feel strongly that because the African American community is so large in America, Miss Harris, being politically orientated from a young age, knew her customer audience. You see what I'm saying? She knew her customer audience, as opposed to truly believing that she knew her customer audience. I would say it feels as such. I can't say for 100, but it feels as such that if the larger population was South Asian, she would be saying she's a South Asian and being on the South Asian ticket. Right. That's how it feels. So it from that angle. Yeah. No problem. Thank you for your call. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Les London, if you want to take part in the show, remember the number is 0753-996-8143. 0753-996-8143. I'll give it one more time for the money. 0753-996-8143. Is there anything that you want to discuss in all the matters discussed a while ago? You know, because we touched on a few other subjects in terms of just a quick discussion on each. We will recap, but it's important, you know, if you want to throw your questions in there, to throw it. Don't feel you have to wait until a specific point. You know, give us a call, shout us out, and we'll have that discussion. We love to hear from you. So I'll jump back into the subject matter where we were discussing. So all these subjects are important. Don't wait. If you got a question for something to come up, just jump in with it. Like I was saying, is it that time? The basic crux of what I was about to say with this point: should Crusader Dick, head of the Metropolitan Police, be stepping down? Is it time for her to go? You know, is it time for her to go? And why I'm saying that is the whole debacle with saying the police is no longer institutionally racist, to the point of now closing the Stephen Lawrence's case. I'm going to come back to it. We have a live caller. Yep. Caller, 1 second, bear with me. Caller, you're live. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm from Kingsbury.
Yes, caller, how you doing?
I'm okay, and you?
I'm doing my best. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man, be strong.
Mm.
Yeah, so I just call on the topic of Camilla, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would just like to say that in conversation, yeah, we got to really notice what we're saying, you know, because listen this, yeah, it doesn't matter whether you are a person of slavery, a person of not slavery, and all that. That doesn't really count, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What counts is your action, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would like to say about that is that we have a person like Obama, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he hasn't done nothing
Mm-hmm.
or anything to do with well, I would say us, the people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people like John F. Kennedy, even Trumps as well have done better things to us than Barack Obama. We can tell
Mhm.
one thing that Barack Obama did really done to us. Now, my auntie stopped talking to me for like between June and July, and then she started talking back to me because I was saying that Trump gonna win again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she started not talking to me now from not talking to me for 2 months because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And she started sending me pictures like she was saying that she's surprised at the things that Trump has done for us, like, you know, and I'm like, you know, I mean, she live in America, so how they don't know this? Now she hates Trump as a country because she's saying about the healthcare situation. She
Mhm.
said she used to pay $30 and now she has to be paying $500. So now that's the only thing that she has to find out to me about the reason why she hates Trump.
Mhm.
Now I will tell you though that I've been going through a working man college in London, and I was talking to one teacher one day. She was my teacher, and I was just telling her that Trump was better for the country than Hillary Clinton, and we got in a long time ago, and she got vexed, like in the sense I didn't know she got vexed, but anyway, she was talking to this. I walked in class one day, and she was talking to this Nigerian teacher that he was crying when Trump went. And I asked him, well, why are you crying? And he goes, oh, you don't know who that man is anyway. I was saying to him, why, you know, you would see that the man is a good man, you know. But he never in this time still like Trump. So she was talking to him, and the two of them was laughing. No, look what she tried to do to me now.
Mhm.
She didn't try to step me back, because what she tried to do now is stop me from taking the test outright.
Mhm.
And I was the most, you know, everybody was talking about me when it comes to, you know, the map test and all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's saying, oh no, you know, she don't think I should take the test. So I said, no, that don't sound right. So anyway, I didn't want to make a big issue out of it, like, because it's again some problem there.
Mhm.
So I just said to the head of her that I would like to move into a different class, and I says, because of the days that I'm going to the class, I cannot attend those days. So can you move me to some different days? And that's how I move out, and she continued to be having a job and in good stead.
Mhm.
But I just called to say that, yeah. How what's her name? What's the woman name that we're talking about?
Kamala. Kamala.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Kamala is just strategic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she has more bad records, you know, to do with us than why you discussing there, because now she was an attorney and
Very much so.
people that
Very much so. Mhm.
that she sent down in prison that Trump himself had to do a prison reform. There was this man talking about how she used to send down people for spliff. You
Mhm.
know, just a little spliff, and people that do pedophile and all of that used to get away.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Now, the producer is going to talk about all these things. She, like I said, she's done a comprehensive research. It's just we've only brought up her. She was just answering the question because the question came early. Yeah.
That's a hard statement. It doesn't mean because you never been to slavery, you can't stand up.
No, hold on, Carla. I never agree with that point. And I was allowing you to talk. I'm going to come back to that. Let us explain that part a bit better now. So when we say that, what we have to do, we have to respect the nuances and the difficulties and the differences that each of us have gone through based on our settings. When you're in America and you've gone amongst the American blacks and you start to change the narrative without having the experience or awareness of what that narrative is and why it is for them, it creates a problem. It means you're sent in there as an agent to upheaval and unravel all the hard work that they've done, even though you're standing on their very backs to do it. You get what I'm saying? So you're standing on all the hard work that they've done, and then you're undermining them. And this is where the problem comes in. You know, if you're going to stand with someone, you have to understand the narrative and the nuance of where they're coming from, and ensure that that is explained in anything you're doing. This is not. No, you can't. You can't. If you don't come, you know what I realized, Carla, if you don't come from the countryside bush Jamaica, yeah, and used to go spring for 2-3 miles down the gully to water and all them things there, to bathe and tie out boat and all these things, right? You can't understand it. You can hear it, but you cannot understand it fully.
What about if you see it happening, dog? You are in a part of it, but you see
But
it.
this is what I'm saying. If we hear in the UK, look at it this way. We here in the UK, we see the altruistic actions of Donald Trump because we have the luxury of taking the time out to give him the benefit of the doubt to research him. The American blacks, and you know I'm a Trump supporter in that sense, right? The American blacks, right, on the other hand, what they're seeing in America is a lot of heavy, not Jamaicans in America, because Jamaicans in America are seen as hardworking, whereas Jamaicans in England are seen as lazy and drug. Yeah, Jamaicans in America are seen as hardworking. It used to be a common joke to say Jamaicans have 2-3 jobs, and you know, so you have to realize that in America, Jamaicans are perceived as hardworking people you don't mess around with. They're hardworking. Don't get it twisted. So culturally, it's a difference. So Black Americans now, they don't have that reputation that Jamaicans got. You get me? There's a little nuance there that you have to understand yourself. So what I'm saying is that when I've been in America for months, I tried to live there, but you know what I mean, it didn't work out as planned, and I had to come back to the UK. But the point is that those few months that I was there, and I was, you know what I mean, it opened my eyes to a whole different world. You know,
big different, isn't it?
Right. So in this sense,
we living in England as well. The blacks here, I'm saying black for now. The blacks here to me is some strange black people though. So they from the Caribbean and they just come up here and it's funny.
No, I mean, you I say trouble you give me know that one, you know.
I'm surprised, you know. I mean, I don't even want to go around them no more.
No, I hear what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that it's not Trump, but what happens based on the energized attitude of the far right in America. They treat those people that they can get away with it with in a different way now because of the enthusiasm that they've gotten from Donald Trump. And shows the problem that a lot of the black people in America have towards Donald Trump because of the impetus that and the excitement that he's created amongst the far right group. Not that he's not doing anything for the black folks, but for those who live there that are going through the difficulties day to day because of these Trump supporters, there goes the problem. Now, I'm not saying that they should vote for Biden, because as far as I'm concerned, Biden for me is like covering up a wound and making it look pretty. Whilst it's festering underneath, everything above looks great. You get what I'm saying? That's whereas with Trump, you can see the wound and you can start doing things to remedy the wound, and it's up to the individual to make sure they cure themselves.
Well, I like Trump because you know what you're dealing with. You
Right.
You know you're dealing with Trump.
Exactly. And there goes the issue. So if you're not there to understand that nuance, why Black Americans don't lean towards Donald Trump, and they're not getting the information that the left liberal media is pushing out, that is doing positively for Black people. They're not getting that information. So you have to follow that. Even here, the British media and the British press put Donald Trump down. Why? There's a narrative along the route because Donald Trump's not playing ball to them. You know,
That's true though. And a lot of them been fighting against trying to don't get it. You're not that the Q&A. They try to get they were trying to spread false news against them.
Right.
So you don't get heated in.
So they can say what they can say what they want to say about Donald Trump, but the only thing that I can say categorically demands an honest, upright, straight talking as it is, man.
He's honest, you know, but I give due to you said give it to Caesar what is due to Caesar. I give that.
Yeah. So that's the nuance. So when we say what we're saying in terms of if you don't have that awareness, when you see someone trying to come in there and comooch and swivel through the rocks and not give recognition for that, that's a snake. You get what I'm saying? Yes. That's a snake. And we don't deal with snakes. The reason why people love Sean Paul so much was Sean Paul never tried to come into dancehall and try to say, yo, he's a ghetto youth. Sean Paul came in saying he's an uptown guy. You know, this is what his life was about. He went through a bit of difficulties when his father was in this situation. And he's always helped and done his little thing in a little wee bit different. He's never been like a culture vulture. He's always been a true roots person in his approach. Those people, we can open the door and say, yeah, man, respect my brother. Go on through. The snakes, we have to weed them out and we have to learn the nuances and the behavior of a snake. And this is what we're saying. In her instance, her behavior and mannerisms is coming across strongly like she's a snake. And that's why we don't support her, because this is why we do this show, to teach about nuances. This whole show, as if you go back and listen to the first set of shows, all I talk about is nuances. And we have to highlight nuances so people can identify snakes, identify people trying to There's an LBC presenter, I'm going to say, he's one of the most racist. What's his name? Andy Pierce or so. He's one of the most racist guys. But the way that he's racist, he's so subtle with it. You get me? It's like, I hear a story, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago on Talk Sport, the one of them station there, the radio one, yeah? Darren Bent was on there talking about why they don't like Lewis Hamilton, right? Why don't British white people like Lewis Hamilton per se as much as they should? And he was going, I don't know, you know, a lot of this donut, yeah, saying a lot of people don't like him because of whatever reason. And he goes, even my father-in-law, and you know, and I'm not going to mash no ice, his father-in-law white, isn't it? He goes, even my father-in-law said to me that I don't know what it is, you know, I can't quite put my finger on it, why I don't like it, why I don't like Lewis Hamilton, yeah? And this fool is on national radio talking about his father-in-law saying he don't know, he can't quite put his finger on it, when everyone that have sense knows that when a white person go, boy, I don't know, you know, I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like a side look out my eye. It's like a side look out of them eye saying, I can't quite put my finger on it, yeah? Rubbing a piece of black thing, you get me? And the fool's repeating it like his father-in-law is saying something honest and sincere to him. This is how dumb some of them people are. Yeah, if you hear me, Darren Bent, you're an idiot. You get me? That's what I'm saying. This is the problem. This is the problem. People don't understand the side talk sometimes. People don't.
But you gotta remember too, like some of them people in America, they might be hurt in different ways, and the way how you're gonna be hurt here is if you see things black and white. But you look at things black and white here, everything else gonna hurt you. You know that, don't you?
I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean.
Look, if I just sit here as black and white, and I live in America here, everything you do, whether it's good or bad, they're gonna affect me because I only look at things as black and white. I only enjoy. True.
I see what you mean. I follow what you. And
that's what you should be doing. You should be
Right.
He is the person because as I'm saying, this is what Nigeria man, he's a migrant somewhere.
Right.
Everybody was thinking that Hillary was going to win. Did you know that? Just like now, nobody here thinking that Biden going to win. I mean, the thing when they're doing the census is saying that he's in the lead, but nobody is in all going to win like Hillary. Don't you realize it? So I stopped the man and watching, and it sent a shock to everybody. It shocked me because I was hoping that she never would think I would be in trouble.
You know what? You know what I'm weary about? This is what I'm weary about, right? When in British politics, for example, I would say that the person before COVID-19, the best person to lead this country was Boris Johnson, right? Now,
yeah, you said that as well. I heard you said that before.
Yeah. No, after COVID-19, it's like because them try to kill poor Boris, yeah. It's like him turn idiot. It's like he turned into a fool. Yeah. No, then try to kill him. Say it frightened the daylight out of him till Barry starts saying, yo, you're gonna stop eating pork and lose weight. Something scared Boris stiff. Something scared Boris stiff. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying, things can happen to change Trump. You get what I'm saying? But we know Biden is the devil. I can look up Joe Biden's face and all I see in his eyes is the devil.
I don't think Trump needs to change the
No, I'm saying they can. I'm saying something can. No, hear what I'm saying? Hear what I'm saying? I'm saying something could happen to change his actions from his mindset. Just like how Boris is being messed up. You get what I'm saying? I'm just saying anything could happen. But I still, I still say if Boris was the best choice going forward at the time, because I don't know what Corbyn would have been doing right now, because Corbyn was his head wasn't screwed on, Jeremy Corbyn's head wasn't screwed on, so I don't know what he would have done. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, Boris, they try to kill him so it frightened the daylight out of Boris. You get what I'm saying? You understand? So I don't. So poor Boris, you have to feel sorry for him sometimes for the craziness that's going on. You know what I mean? Because and people recognize that he went through a trauma. You can imagine you have a child on the. You know what I mean? You can imagine you have a child on the way and you don't even know if you're going to see the picnic. Come on, that will shake anyone's foundation. You know what I'm saying? So we have to look on everything in a certain way. You know what I mean? But that's our take on the whole situation there. You know what I mean? But yes, caller. No worries. Okay, no worries. No. I'll give them. Yes, the number is 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again, 0753-996-8143. One last one for the money, 0753-996-8143. It's the doctor's surgery. We just bring you the information that's been pertinent in the news over the past week. I want to see them try to kill Boris, but now I'm pointing my finger at anyone. So the person that do it, don't start panic and go, I don't know who did it. To say that as a joke. 0753-996-8143. Text and call in line if you want to take part in the show. So going back into the other aspects of stuff, I was just explaining about the Met Police Commissioner, and when we talk about the Met Police Commissioner, I don't want people to feel that this is a low budget job. This is the highest police officer in the land. And when we look at the Met Police at the moment, in terms of its actions towards Black people, them even going above and beyond in terms of asking Black people about where they're going to and where they're traveling at. Disrespectful questions, because they can turn around and say to Dawn Butler that, we didn't know who's in the car, so we just stopped you randomly, but yet the questions were inappropriate. It wasn't just the stop. If it was just the stop, police stop people all the time, true, granted. But the questions in the stop were also inappropriate. And had she not been versed in what is right from what is wrong in a question and answer session with the police, then this is what I'm saying, these discrepancies lead to adverse outcomes for younger folks. And this is why I say I respect the MP for flagging it up. It doesn't do her career any justice. In fact, it might have impacted on her career. Because the first thing the police has come out and said is, oh, they didn't even know who was in the car. You get that action and attitude? And this is why I'm saying the Met police officer, she's not fit for office. Because she can come out in as long as 2013 to say the police is no longer institutionally racist. But yet everything about the police exudes, breeds racism still to this day. So either she's incompetent or she's complicit to the atrocities that we're facing. And they're not extreme atrocities, but they create a completely unfair and biased soil. It's not breathing positivity. It's not breeding positivity. It's breeding vile divide day by day. The policies and the procedures, everything the police do, stop and search. Oh, should we bring it back? No, should we? The police even wanted to put cameras, facial recognition cameras in black areas to patrol black folks. And yet, the police is not institutionally racist. Why? Because some tick box paperwork from a report said she can tick off those things and say the police is not. This is what I'm saying. So she's either complicit or she's incompetent. And whichever one you choose, it equals that she needs to step down because she obviously can't handle the position. And just because her last name suggests that she might be able to, she still can't. She needs to step down. Well, it might not suggest, it might say she's an idiot because most people that they call that last name is usually an idiot. You get me? I ain't got no manners, no behavior. You get me? So this is what I'm saying. These are little things that we need to kind of flag up. Now, so it's sad, and it's really sad when you have an incompetent commissioner causing further pain and insult to a community now where a case is being closed against a tragic murder. That murder is one of the biggest and most tragic murders in modern British history. People have to recognize the impact of that murder of young Stephen Lawrence, where known murderers are walking cockily on the street. So you can imagine how the family feels. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it in any negative way. I don't feel sorry for nobody in this situation because, I don't give fake love. But just start the truth as it is. When we look at the officer that died the other day, we can understand. I don't empathize or sympathize, but we can understand why the wife feel like our husband of a week or so get robbed from her by the 3 young boys. You can imagine if them 3 young boys was black, they would never see road again, based on the current settings of how the police is biased. But the only reason they're gonna see you, and that's the only thing I was glad for in the whole case. When I saw the 3 white boy, I would, yeah. You get me? More power to you lot. Because I know that if it was 3 black boys, then they probably have beat them to death in the police station. You know what I'm saying? So this is the discrepancy that we're facing. Where the main police force in London is struggling to even create that balance mental authority. So you can imagine what the other forces that are subordinate to it across the land, how they're functioning. You can see why that little young boy who was pushed in the river in Wales, why the police force could say, oh, there is no need to prosecute the young man that's been identified as being culpable because he's a good young lad with a bright future. What kind of idiot statement is that? These are the things, and it's coming from the incompetency of the Met commissioner. She's not being a strong leader. She's not taking on the role as she should, and guiding her officers properly and fairly in how the actions should be. In fact, it seems like she's promoting the negativity even so by disputing and denying what is clear evidential facts. And sometimes she don't even come out and talk when she needs to talk. Right, so we've done that. I'm going to take a little pause from me talking and hand over to the producer to discuss the Kamala Harris situation and in depth. So I'll hand over to you for the time being. If you want to take part in the show, you got any questions about this or any other matter, please feel free to give us a call. 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. One more for the money. 0753 996 8143. Someone start a petition to get rid of the Met Police Commissioner now. I ain't doing it. But if someone altruistic and clean, clean, I'm saying this show I'm biased, isn't it? Yeah. So if someone start that petition, it can get signed by a lot of people because she needs to go. I think she's a poor example for a commissioner. You know what I mean? The British police, is suffering the image is suffering further under her leadership. But I hand over to my producer.
Okay. So basically, just reiterating the points that I said before, I find that Kamala Harris is the epitome of associating blackness with oppression, and then it also brings up the colorist issues as well. Now, if we look at Kamala Harris, like I said before, her mum's Indian, Tamil, and is it Brahmin? Brahmin. I think that's how you say it, Brahmin. Mm-hmm. It's a key point there. And before, her mum went to America in 1958, and before the 1970s, Indians or Asians were basically their race was associated with their skin color. So if you were fair, you were considered white. If you were in the middle, you were considered brown. If you were dark, you were considered black. It wasn't a case of looking at your actually looking at what your biological makeup was or what your culture was. It was associated to skin color only. So Asians found it hard to navigate in America because it wasn't a case of your lineage. It was a case of what your skin color was. And until 1971, I think it was I don't know if it was across the board, but Asians were considered white.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was across the board or I don't know what the breakup of that was. But then a lot of them were considered white. Hence why you have someone like, what's her name? Nikki Haley in 2001.
Okay.
Who is Asian descent, was on her voting slip. She was considered white, even though she was Asian. Mm-hmm. That was in 2000. I don't know what it's like today. Sorry.
So what we have to highlight is that on a lot of the voting slips, this is why I say nuances in this country are completely different from nuances in America. So in America, a lot of Asians in America, Indian Asians, they're classified as white on the voting ballots. Mm-hmm. So this is why I'm saying for Kamala Harris to have chosen one of those paths, it's important to understand why she would choose the African American and how the logistics of it works.
Mm-hmm. Another aspect to look at as well is if you look at liquid assets in America, the main people that have like the most liquid assets are people from Asian American. So they are the wealthiest in the country. Whites are next, and then blacks are at the lowest. So it's also playing into that factor of you're aligning yourself with the majority, even though you're not necessarily coming from the same background as the majority. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on to the father now. The father's of Jamaican descent. He came out and said that one of his ancestors was a slave owner. Which is, I think all of us would, well, not all of us, most of us would have that sort of link because we were in slavery. he's come out and basically condemned his daughter for coming out for going on the Breakfast Club, stating how she smoked weed, and of course she smoked weed because half of her family is from Jamaica, and she's come out and said generic stereotypes of black people, saying that she's listened to Tupac and listened to Snoop Dogg, and basically she's.
Before you run on with that, the Jamaican part, because that's close to me, and people don't have to wonder why they can hear the accent, right? So, people, listen to what I'm saying to you, my great British public. I'm not saying it's not just black people listening. You get what I'm saying? Everybody are listening, but probably majority black. In Jamaica, worse back in the day, more so than now, but in Jamaica till present, there's certain families and certain people that you cannot bring or talk to them about weed. And that used to be the majority. If you were a weed smoker back in the day, you were seen as undesirable, especially during the time when this man probably packed up and went to the States to do his thing. And the fact that he was part of the civil rights struggle process and support, both mom and dad. These people weren't sitting in listening to no reggae music and drawing no chalice. You get what I'm saying? That was seen as an undesirable, unacceptable part of Jamaican culture. To this day, is still frowned on significantly in certain circles. So when this woman get up and said, of course, I've smoked weed because half my family is from Jamaica, it's one of the most derogatory and disrespectful stereotypes you can throw. Yes, Jamaicans like to brag about having the best weed and the boom weed and all these things. They're fault too. But in the same sense, for someone to take it up, knowing that it's a stereotype based on music and the popularity of the music makes it seem disproportionately so. So to take that stereotype and to present it as if it's fact, and if people don't know, the Breakfast Club is one of the biggest radio talk shows in the United States for amongst black folks. One of the biggest.
Which is problematic.
It's so big that all key campaigners in the political climate, Hillary Clinton, on all of these people on the Democratic ticket, so you can see they're a bit biased, always goes onto the Breakfast Club when they want to talk to African Americans.
And always wants to make a remark that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Denigrating
towards black. Because we know that Hillary Clinton,
hot sauce.
She went onto the Breakfast Club and said, "Oh, I always carry my hot sauce in my bag."
Like she's Beyonce.
Which was in a sense, and there's a presenter on the Charlemagne that they call him Charlemagne the God. He was you could see he was annoyed by it. So he probed a little bit further. You know what I'm saying? So he interviews well. He's a bit cocky and disrespectful at times to some people, especially black folks. But he interviews well. And I can't knock someone for the confidence they have and the behavior they have, because probably someone can say to me, I'm the same, a bit cocky and whatever, but I'm not in his position and money. You know what I'm saying? So he's probably going to be way bit more cocky than me. So the fact is, when we look at that aspect of stuff, that was a big platform to be so derogatory towards. But sorry for interjecting.
No, that's fine. Also, just to add upon that, it's like her dad spent his lifetime trying to stay away from that stereotype, going to university. Was he working at? Well,
he's a professor.
He's at Stanford University, and now to have your daughter come along, and the only time she speaks of you is in a sense of weed and her blackness of, oh yeah, I used to listen to Snoop Dogg and Tupac, when this man spent his life trying to get away from that
that's right.
stereotype.
So imagine
the accolades that he's got.
You're a professor in one of the Ivy League schools, as they call it. How hard is it to be a professor in an Ivy League school? A black man in a professorship in an Ivy League school. Remember, You have a lot of professors, black professors in America, but when you check the universities there, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's a waste of time professorship.
Savage.
I'm being savage. Yeah, true. Even white professors, the waste of time professorship. When you're a professor in an Ivy League school, that's a different level of professorship.
Mhm.
That means you can be a sought after professor on mega money anywhere on the planet.
Mhm.
That's the difference. You know what I mean? So in a little minor school,
Mhm.
it don't mean diddly squat. Well, professor in an Ivy League school means that you can hold a professorship anywhere on this planet and you'll be commanding a lot of money.
Mhm.
Yeah, whether for research or even personal pay.
Mhm.
So understand the differences there. So anyway, sorry, I need to
That's all right.
chat too much in
it. That's all right. Then she went on to do another interview. Can't remember if it was before or after, where the presenter basically asked her, "Are you going to do something for the black community specifically?" And her answer basically was, "I'm not going to specific. If I do something for the black community, it will benefit everyone." So yet again, it's eroding away that narrative of, yes, I'm going to do something for the black community and I stand with the black community. It's a case of, if I do something, then everyone benefits. So no, it's not specifically for the black community, it's for everyone. And this is a person that's proclaiming herself to be an African American.
And this is one of the subject matters that they've asked every single black politician, so-called black politician from the devil was a boy. You could say Barack Obama. In the same sense, Barack Obama's family narrative reads the same as Kamala in a lot of senses, in the sense that his dad, whilst he's classified as black or African American, his father was from Kenya.
Mhm.
His father didn't go through the same struggles,
Mhm.
and so even though he probably wasn't even raised by his father, nonetheless,
Mhm.
he didn't have that connection or needed that connection to African Americans until it became political day.
Mhm.
Not to say that they haven't done things in the past, I don't know, but in his presidency, he did nothing.
Mhm.
And he admittedly said so.
Mhm.
He's done nothing. Someone sent me, I was having a debate with someone about Trump versus Obama. And they sent me, oh, this is what Obama's done for black folks. And he sent me an article said Obama releases 6 prisoners, 1 white and 5 blacks. So they were all excited. And at the time, up to the time, President Trump had released 3,100 prisoners, where the majority have been black. It's Obama's 5 to near 3,000 from Donald Trump. These are the things that the media don't cover. And I'm not saying that Obama wasn't a good president, because he took on the ship when it was very rocky financially and everything. We all remember that was at the time of the crash. For those who don't know, that was in the heart of the crash, the financial crisis. And he steered the ship to some form of normality. So, on the point of giving a black presidential candidate respect for the future, I give Obama applause wholeheartedly. On the point of doing something for his people, he did nothing. And on the part of a lot of people don't realize that we have a movement called Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter started under President Obama. Think about it. We are looking to vote in the vice president under Obama. No, let me rephrase that. The Americans are looking to vote in, the American blacks, we are looking to vote in Joe Biden under to remedy a lot of these racial discrepancies. But Mr. Biden, you were in office already when these discrepancies were taking place. And before that, you were part of the planning processes that created these problems. And anyway, I can't talk about it. It's going to wind me up.
You lost my train of thought.
No,
Anyway,
sorry.
whenever she speaks of her mother she's always speaking about her accolades, always attributing her political activism to her. She always speaks about the culture. She's done this. I think the problem with Kamala, she's done way too many interviews where information is contradicting itself.
Yes.
So when you look now, when she done, I think 2 interviews where she talks about her Indian side, and she basically, I didn't hear her say one thing stereotypical. I didn't hear her say one thing negative. She knew exactly what the cultural references were. When the woman's father came in, she talked about how she used to go to India and the things that she had to go through when she was in India, and the fond memories that she had. But when she went to the Breakfast Club, she couldn't tell. She gave you generic information about
She smoked some
Tupac,
weed and
Tupac and Snoop Dogg. And by the way, what the time that she was attributing listening to the music wasn't even out at that time. So she's constantly playing on the strings of Black people, where it's like she doesn't even understand the culture of which she's trying to assimilate.
The woman's a devil. You know what I mean? She said she's a part of Joe Biden's family, and Joe Biden the devil, so she's a devil. So, on the point of then colorism, how does this tie in with the whole issue that you're saying now? That because we have to deal with these nuances, we have to deal with these difficulties. You know what I'm saying? At this point where she's coming in, and don't get it twisted. We're not talking about a typical person who's got an experience and that person is balanced, culturally balanced, and understands the cultural nuances.
Can I quickly interject there? I just wanted to add that for me personally, if I look at Kamala Harris and mixed people in general, as soon as they, to be honest, as soon as they associate with one side of their culture, I feel like that can be perceived as self-hate, because now you've had a situation where both parents have contributed to your upbringing, and now you're removing or saying that side never helped contribute to your upbringing. So in the case of Kamala Harris, I feel it's unfair for her to be like, I'm Black, knowing that her mum played an active role in her upbringing, and much of how she perceives the world is based on her mum and her culture being Black. 2, as she said, her mum put that title on her and said, you are Black, you are not the same as me. You're the same as your dad, but you're not the same as me. But yet she's installed that pride and that culture of Indian into her daughter, but yet she said to her, you're not the same as me.
So was that her mom saying that because of the Black mix she's lesser?
I don't know. It could be perceived as that way, but I can't understand. If I was to have a mixed child, I would never say to the child, you are Black. I would be like, that's for your finding. Don't ever erode away one side of your culture, because that has contributed to who you are today. So for your parent to put upon you that you are one, and she didn't even say herself, she said the other. She didn't even say you're Indian, she said the other. Just shows me the mindset of because you're of me, but you're not me. I find it rude.
So is that a rejection? Can it be complicit to be a rejection?
I don't know, because yet you've still installed the culture into your child. So whether you like it or not, you've still installed the culture into the child. I'm just saying how they associate or how they recognize themselves is, you've said I'm of you, but I'm not you.
No, I hear that. I understand. Okay. But the point I was making is that, you have people that are from mixed backgrounds, and they're very balanced, because the Asian mother or the Asian father, they understand the culture to which their partner belongs, and they can give that creative balancement. You know what I'm saying? Not to say they can be the same, but they can give that creative balancement. And I don't know whether that was the case with her mother. What I can say is that the end result of what we're observing is a very fork-tongued woman. And it's the forked tongue that gets my back up, that irks me. You know, so we have people that when they speak, you know, they don't speak with a forked tongue. They speak very firmly to what they believe in, and their decisions are very balanced for all to see and fair on all the settings. What I strongly feel is that it's kind of like Barack Obama. He's an enigma because his decisions have been were perceived to be very fair in a lot of senses, but behind the scenes, his actions were telling to not to be in a lot of senses. But when he did make a decision and when he did speak on something, it was very balanced and presented clarity on both sides. And that's why I feel a lot of people respect him. I'm not getting the same vibe from Kamala. And this is probably why Barack Obama was such a strong president, because people, the overt extreme practices of the far right were quelled to some degree, even though there was a rise in brutality. And that's where he was weak as a president, in addressing that rise in brutality. And whereas Kamala is an enigma, so she could, but she's not going to be the president, so she won't have the ability to make certain things happen. She's just going to be the vice president. And when do vice presidents ever do anything of their own accord? They're just a puppet of the president until that time, aren't they? So for me, it's a wasted effort. For me, it's just a measure to get Joe Biden in. Some people say Joe Biden will be a one-term president. I don't even think he let me not turn Trump. As Trump would say, Sleepy Joe. I don't think he can manage that, you know. Yeah, but yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I see what you mean.
That's the basically, because I just find rude when you have two contribute. It's not like a case where we can talk about Bob Marley, where he spent most of his time with his mother, or situations where they spent most of their time in black spaces. I'm not telling someone how to identify. The problem that I just don't understand is when you have two parents that are from different races come together and help to bring that child up. I just can't fathom how you can remove or not acknowledge one side of your family that has helped to contribute to you what you are today. Also, what I have to say as well is you spoke about how the issue doesn't necessarily affect you or as a black male.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I think it very much affects you.
Go on, tell me
I
what
think it
affect
very
me.
much
Go on,
affects you.
Go on,
because as you know, I think in America,
that one was festering for a while. All right, cool. All right, go on. How does it affect me? Go on, tell me.
No, I'm just saying black males in the prison system are more likely are more affected. So to put this woman in a position of power where you know the small crimes like the weed and other aspects of what was her policy, tough on crime, is going to affect black males or black people worse than compared to others.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's like apart from the men that bleach, and I don't understand the bleachers in that sense. You know, most black men are very confident in themselves. Most black men are very confident in themselves, and I was meaning the nuance of we don't have a problem with like I don't have a problem with like mixed race guys that say they're black and stick and lean strongly to the black side. Like, as you know, I'm a strong Formula One fan, and you know, I used to watch Formula One during the time of Ayrton Senna, and then when Ayrton Senna crashed and died, that was the last Formula One race I watched until the Formula One race in 2000, the first opening race in 2007. When I was told, listen, there's a young black guy coming through the ranks, he's good, you need to watch it. And I watched it and fell in love again with Formula One. You know, so with the struggles that some people go through in life, such as Lewis Hamilton, it's like he understands the plight, and he's not trying to say, he's not trying to put himself in there like a W. Du Bois, where he's saying, "Listen, I'm better than my dark-skinned compatriots." He's like saying, "Listen, we're all brothers," and he shows an understanding. And for me, people that come across as showing the understanding and the danger, and what I'm always looking out for are the snakes, because we know the snakes are the ones that come in there pretending to be, but they think they're better than me.
Can I ask a quick question with regards to Lewis Hamilton? I don't think Lewis Hamilton has ever gone into a space and said, "I'm white."
No, he's never gone into a space and said he's white. He's gone,
Exactly, there's a difference. I feel like there's a difference where you have Kamala Harris has gone into a space and said that she's Indian. She never referred to her black side. She never referred to it, her black side. And then she goes into other spaces where she's referred to it, but then it's always a derogatory term.
but this is what I mean. The representatives that we have as mixed representatives on the as men, they tend to be a bit more balanced. Now, text message reads, "Good morning. On the subject of Kamala Harris, when I heard this announcement on the news, I'm sorry, but I laughed. The reason I laughed was because these women is so concerned about climbing the political ladder and personal gain that she has been blinded to the fact that she's being used for the person of getting votes for Joe Biden. She will not help black people at all, and has never helped black people. She has though locked quite a few black people up. She's foolish, as I personally feel she's been used to get black voters for Biden. And I might be wrong, but it will be interesting to see how long she will hold that position after the elections. Personally, not keen on this lady due to the history. Donald Trump is laughing at her too, as she's too foolish to see that she's being used. Well, that's just my opinion. That's from 480. Thank you very much, 480. You know, I do think she is being used. She knows she's being used, but like I said, she's a bit of a weasel.
On so many levels, she's being used in
Yeah,
regards to. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, in regards to so many levels that she's being used as a woman, knowing that there's an uproar in women wanting to hold their spaces and be represented. She's using the whole black feature because she knows that there's an uproar that Black Lives Matter. She's proclaiming her Indian side, so she's appealing to many people. What I'm trying to say, she's appealing to her Indian side because she's going on interviews stating how she's Indian. Yet her partner is he Jewish?
Yeah.
Her partner is Jewish, so there's all races she's appealed to. So I wouldn't just say it's black voters. I'd say she's
Judaism is a religion.
Okay, she's white. Well, he's white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. He's white. She's appealing to so many different people. So I wouldn't say necessarily it's.
Now, this. You know, the thing is that you know the main crux of the thing there for me. You see, if her children were, and I'm going to say this, I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but it's just the fact of what it is. If her children were black or with a black person, I would think a little bit more kindly towards her, because I would think she would have to have her children's best interest at heart in the long run, based on how society will treat them. But with her children going to be of even more like looking on like black, it's a far removed notion to say she needs to care about that.
But her sister has a black.
I don't think she needs about her sister, you know, because
no, but I'm just saying you have your interest.
I don't see Donald Trump crying over his brother, which I thought he would have been. So I think after a certain age with these people, siblings are just an impediment, you know, a competition, you know, that you outdo. That's how it seems up in the upper echelon of that society. But anyway, we're going to catch you back after the news and advert. It's the doctor's surgery. Keep listening. We finish at 11. and we're going to, recap and take your calls. Thank you for listening. We catch you back on the other side.